There's a worrying trend as COVID-19 numbers continue to climb. Yesterday, we recorded the highest number of positive cases in a single day. More than 17,000 South Africans tested positive for COVID-19 over a 24-hour period. For more analysis of the recent figures and what trends they're taking, I'm joined from Pretoria by Dr. Ridhwaan Suliman, a senior researcher at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. He speaks to us in his personal capacity. Dr. Suliman, thank you very much for your time on this New Year's Eve. So in terms of the rise in cases, what are statistics telling us about the dramatic spike up to almost 17,000 plus daily cases, which we saw yesterday?
Good evening, Andy. The trend in cases, daily cases, is concerning. As you mentioned, we did see a record number of confirmed cases just yesterday. Not completely surprising, though, because there is a lag generally over weekends, and we tend to see that lag coming through from Wednesday and following for the rest of the week. So we will continue to see a high number of cases, and also as the infections surge now in the populous provinces of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, the numbers will continue to increase.
You sent us a number of rather alarming graphs showing those levels rise. When you look at that graph of daily cases, what goes through your mind? I mean, you're a number cruncher. You know how to read those kind of graphs better than I do. What does it tell you comparative to the first wave, looking at those daily cases now?
Well, we need to look firstly at least 7-day averages to rule out the erratic daily reporting as well as the weekend effects. So if you look at the current 7-day average, the cases are about 12,100 per day. That is up 20% compared to the same time last week and is on the increase. We no doubt are at the levels that we saw at the peak of the first wave. And as mentioned, as the infections soar in the populous provinces, now moving into Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, these numbers will continue to increase. When looking at cases, we also need to bear in mind that these are related to the amount of testing that's being conducted. Because the test positivity rates are so high in South Africa, we need to look at these case numbers in relation to the test positivity. And the test positivity is also increasing and increasing quite concerningly.
Well, my next question to you was going to be about testing. What do the testing figures tell us about, A, the number of South Africans that are going for tests? We know that only people who have symptoms are likely to go for tests. Are we to trust these figures in terms of overall positivity, or are we looking at drastically higher numbers in terms of people who are asymptomatic and therefore not testing?
Yes, we certainly need to bear that in mind when looking at the numbers. Because of the high test positivity rate and because of the test capacity constraints and testing criteria in many areas of the country, as you indicate, not everyone is going for testing. At the moment, we're averaging about 40,000 tests per day across the country. That is down slightly from a week ago, and that's due to the festive period. If we look at the percentage of these tests that are returning positive results, that gives us a better indication. And currently that test positivity is trending upwards. And one, it indicates that we're not testing widely enough, and the testing has certainly not kept up with the scale of the outbreak. And two, it indicates that the number of cases that we are reporting is certainly an underestimate, and there are a lot more undetected cases on the ground.
We're hearing a lot about a new variant. In conjunction with that, we're hearing about full hospital wards in some provinces, and we're hearing about increased death rates. Are we supposed to be putting those three things together, or is it too early to say whether that new variant is directly responsible for heightened hospital admissions and increased fatalities?
I think it is a bit too early to be able to confirm such. One also needs to bear in mind the limitations of the publicly available data when we consider. So I would be cautious in making such conclusions. It has been indicated that the new variant is mostly dominant over the last few weeks, and dominant in the areas where we're seeing an upsurge in cases. So certainly a higher transmissibility is for certain. I would be a bit cautious about making any conclusions about the severity of the new variant just yet. If we just look at the publicly available data, we are seeing a number of new hospital admissions. The numbers are higher than what we saw at the peak of the first wave. And lately, we're also seeing the number of deaths on average is higher than what we saw at the peak of the first wave. However, there are limitations to the data, and I think more scientific studies and more rigorous analysis is needed before any such conclusions can be made.
Given the data that is available to you, that you have at your disposal, both on rise in cases, in terms of testing, in terms of hospitalizations and deaths, what do these figures tell us about what we can expect to see in coming weeks?
Well, we have seen that the numbers have started increasing first in the Eastern Cape. At least the resurgence started in the Eastern Cape. The good news, fortunately, is that the Eastern Cape has, by all measures, being cases, test positivity, hospitalizations, it has shown that the Eastern Cape has passed the peak. We saw then that the resurgence moved into Western Cape, and Western Cape has increased quite rapidly. In fact, the confirmed cases were twice as high as what was reported at the peak of the first wave. We're now seeing a rapid resurgence in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, and those two provinces are picking up really quickly. So this will continue, and it's starting to spread also in the smaller provinces too. So we'll certainly see the spread move into these provinces for the next few weeks going forward.
Thank you very much. That was Dr. Ridhwaan Suliman, a senior researcher at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. He was speaking to us in his personal capacity, though, giving us some insight into the latest figures on COVID-19.